I'm so excited today. My son Sean's working with me, and it's almost Mother's Day, and we're making homemade hot dog buns. Welcome to our brick oven lifestyle. Okay, so Sean is helping me, my son, today. This is awesome. What a treat. We are going to make homemade hot dog buns. It's something that you don't see a lot. People don't make them. They are so good. I recommend them highly. It just takes hot dogs to a new level. And with 4th of July coming up here, it's the perfect time to make some hot dogs. So the ingredients for the hot dog buns are going to be 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast, or 1 packet, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 cup of hot water, 1 egg that I already scrambled, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of oil. I use olive oil. You can use anything you want. And then 3 cups of flour. But we're also additionally going to use up to a 1/2 cup of flour over here for our kneading process, and also 3 more tablespoons of butter that we're going to use on the buns as we are preparing them. We'll start with the yeast. Sean, you want to go ahead and pour that in there? Good job. We'll also put the sugar in, and then just give that just a quick little stir. 1 cup of hot water, and this is going to help activate the yeast. It's not hot water, it's warm water. You don't want it too hot, you don't want it too cold, so that the yeast activates as it's supposed to. And then what we want to look for is that yeast actually, that it's working, that it's proofing. All right, Sean, that looks good. Go ahead and put in the egg.
All right.
Just go ahead and put the butter in, and really the salt and the oil too is fine.
Okay.
And the salt. And then that oil. Go ahead and stir that up. Very nice. And then the last ingredient right now that we're doing is the 3 cups of the flour.
All of it?
All of it, yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Usually makes a little poof. That's okay. But what you want to have it needs to look kind of like a shaggy look, and it's starting to pull away from the sides of the bowl. That's what we kind of want before we get ready for our kneading process here on the boards. That's pretty good, Sean. So I'm just cleaning the bowl down. That's good. Now we have it at a point where we can go ahead and dump it out here onto the cutting board. And would you put just a little sprinkling, not a lot of flour, but just a little, just like that. Just so that when we put this down, it's not going to stick real bad. And then we'll add more flour as we need more flour to it. So I'm going to dump it out on the board. Thank you, Sean. That's pretty good. We'll just set that aside. Now I'm going to start kneading the dough. We don't want it real dry dough. We want it to be sticky, but to a point where you can pull your hand away from the dough. So at first it's a little harder to knead it, but as you start getting more and more flour in here, it starts getting stickier and stickier. This is a smooth dough, kind of elasticy, smooth dough. And you can kind of feel it changing as you're mixing it together like this. You know, it usually takes me 5 to 10 minutes, even if I'm going really slow, to knead the dough together. Okay, I think we're there. I'm just trying to make sure I got all the flour mixed in, that I have that I'm kneading right now. That's good. So the dough, you can see it's still sticky, but I can pull my hands away from it too. That's right where you want to be. So Sean, would you go ahead and put some spray into that pan? Just coat it
Sure.
with the oil. All right, looks good, Sean. And then we're going to put this into the bowl, and then I'll go ahead and do it since your hands are kind of messy there. And we're just coating the top of that dough so it doesn't dry out. And we're just going to put some plastic wrap on top of this. And then we leave this covered like this for an hour or so. It depends again on the temperature. And we want to let it rise to double in the bowl. Okay, so our dough now has risen. This is awesome. And we can go to the next step of turning it into hot dog bun pieces. So Sean, would you mind putting just a little bit of flour out again, just to keep the surface from sticking when we put this dough down? That's just going to give us a nice surface to work on. And this should just dump right out of the pan if we put enough oil on it. Looks like it worked. A little bit of flour also on top, just to keep, again, from sticking. We don't want to add too much flour, or else the dough might get too dry. Just pat that down. It's a little sticky on the sides still. All right, so at this point we're not kneading it, we're shaping it into a 10 by 5 rectangle. So I have a couple ways where I am able to figure out what 10 by 5 is. And one way is on my little pastry cutter, I have a little measuring, it goes up to 5.5 inches. And then Sean, do you want to get that out?
Yeah.
This is the yardstick that I found and use it for cooking. And we can just set it here so we can look at that. We want 10 inches and we want 5 inches, so let's just use this to get it close. This I try to get pretty close to that 5 by 10 shape because we want the hot dog buns to be as uniform as we can get them. So now we have to cut 10 individual pieces. So we're going to use our ruler to help us with that, to measure. So here's one. And will you make little marks at each inch? All right, Sean, you want to go ahead and try cutting them up
Sure.
into individual bun size? And just, yeah, kind of drag that back and forth. Good, perfect, that's just what we want. Now do that 9 more times.
Okay.
Wouldn't this be a fun project on the 4th of July to just say, hey, we're going to do hot dogs, and everybody goes, oh, boring old hot dogs. No, we're making our own homemade buns. And then everybody says, you can do that? That's possible? And then once you eat these homemade buns, you'll probably make them again because the other buns you buy at the store, they're not even close to the same thing. These are just really good. You can almost eat a bun on its own without the hot dog. So here's a little way to make them uniform that I found after making these several times. What I do is I find one of the shorter ones and I just take off the ends. I like things real straight and exact. So this is my way of making everything look just right. Okay, next step is we're going to roll all of them up on their side. And you see how it has that little mark from where we cut them? That's actually, now it's starting to look a little bit like a hot dog bun. And we're going to be baking these. I'm going to use my graniteware, which I love. And we're going to be baking these in this pan. I tried it on a cookie sheet and it works. What I like with this pan is it has sides and they kind of keep them more uniform that way too. So I'm going to put these into the pan as he's getting them up here on the side. Now this is non-stick, but I put just a little bit of cooking spray in it earlier just to kind of make sure that it's not going to stick on us. So I'm just going to start placing these in the pan, and it's going to use the whole pan up. They're already rising. You can see it. These, as they rise, they're all going to be kind of stuck together. All right, so the next step is we have to cut. We're going to use our little cut marks that we have turned up as guidelines, and we're just going to cut a little slit on each one of them. And we don't want it real deep, maybe a 1/4 inch. And I find that a serrated knife works a little bit better than a regular knife.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. Perfect. Now we're going to put a little bit of butter on them. Well, quite a bit of butter actually, because they're better with butter. I'm not worrying about the top so much as just getting it down the sides. Butter, we have about 3 tablespoons in there. We're going to use 2 of them for just getting in between these buns, and then we'll go over the top of them. So you want to do this for me, Sean? Where are we at? Right here? And just kind of slather it in there. We've got plenty of butter to work with. The last tablespoon of butter, if we have any left, is going to go on top of the buns after they're baked. And the butter just makes them taste better, and it gives them that nice brownness on top of the bun after they cook. So I'm moving the dough around. I'm trying to be kind of gentle with it though too, because it's trying to rise, and I'm trying not to stop that rising process. If you're being gentle, it is pretty forgiving with you, this kind of dough. Now take some butter and just go over the tops of all of them. See how much fun cooking is with your mom? I give you all the fun projects.
Yeah.
Now let's cover these with plastic wrap. About dropped it. My hands have some flour on them.
Yeah.
There we go. And then these are just going to sit for up to 45 minutes. They don't really have to be doubled in size. You just want to make sure that they're kind of pushing together, and then they're ready to go into the brick oven. Okay, Sean, go ahead and put those in the oven.
Sure.
We don't want to put them right next to the flames because the flames will be too much heat and start burning. We'll check them in about 10 minutes. There's going to be a total of 20 minutes at 375. There we go. All right, Sean, let's check them. They have a few more minutes left, but let's see how the buns are doing. Oh, they look really good. They are starting to get a little bit brown. Let's check that. You can check the doneness too to see if they're starting to pull apart easily. They look pretty done to me, so I think we're good. I think we can go ahead and put some butter on them, and then we'll work on the hot dogs. All right, Sean, the rest of the butter goes on top. This just really brings out a lot of the color in them when you put the butter on top. These are going to be so good with the hot dogs we're going to make.
Yeah.
How do you feel about making homemade hot dog buns with me?
I think it's pretty fun.
Think we'll do it again sometime?
I think we should.
That's the fun of brick oven cooking, is I can get my son out here and spend time with him, and we're both having fun because he knows at the end of this he gets to eat. If you enjoy our videos and like the brick oven lifestyle, please feel free to subscribe so we can send you new videos and updates.